If you're a beginner or you want to upgrade your retouching skills, in this video I'm going to show you the step-by-step process on how you can retouch beauty headshot like this, and I'm going to break down this image as simple as possible. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do for this kind of image, I'm just going to look at my image and see what I need to fix for this image. So looking at the image, I'm seeing some stray hair up here. Let me just show you. Like I said, this video is strictly for beginner. You can see these stray hairs right here. Let me just change my mask to white brush. So you can see the stray hair right here. I just want to remove them first for this image. So we're going to remove those hair, and there are different ways you can remove those stray hair. So the first method we're going to try right now, we're going to try using the normal brush tool. So just create a new empty layer right here. Click on new empty layer, and then just pick your normal brush tool. So this is a normal brush tool. Click on it and just zoom in and sample from a close by area. And if you want to sample, make sure you're using alternates to sample. And before you sample, just click on this your picker tool right here. Make sure this point sample is set to 5x5 so that you can sample a much larger area. And after that, come back to your normal brush tool again and just sample from a close by area. Increase your brush size, and if you want to increase and increase your brush size, just press on the square bracket key your keyboard, and you can reduce and increase your brush size. So just press alternate on your keyboard to sample from a close by area. Just paint over those straight hair like that, and you can see we're getting rid of them. So I'm just going to use this technique to remove those hairs. So this is one of the techniques you can use. There are multiple techniques you can use. The reason why I'm using this technique is because the background is blurry, and if I use other technique, I'm not just going to get the result which I want. So that's why I'm using this technique right here, and I'm going to show you how to make it even look more realistic without leaving any trace. As you can see right now, it's leaving trace. So I'm just going to show you how to do it without leaving any trace. So I'm just going to take my time to remove those stray hair because I don't want them to affect this image. Okay, now so after that, if I zoom in, you can see it's leaving some mark or some patches which you don't like. I'm going to show you how to fix that. And to fix that, just pick your mixer brush tool and just paint on the edge like that. So just blur it and mix it to make it look even more realistic. So right now it's as if we're matching everything we did to make it look seamless, to make it look even. So these are mixer brush right here. These are mixer brush tool. So just use it to just brush. If you have a situation like this, you can just use this method to remove your stray hair like that. But if the background is not so blurry, we can use the close thumb tool, or we can even use the healing brush tool to remove those stray hair. But since the background is really blurry, that's why I use these methods to remove them. So let's quickly see our before and after. These are before and these are after. These are before and these are after. So you can see those stray hair are no longer there. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to look at my image again. And looking at this image, I can see this part right here on the eyes. Let me just quickly show you. Like I said, this is an in-depth tutorial for beginners, so I'm going to take my time to explain it as easy as possible. So you can see this part right here on the eyes. Let me just show you. Let me use my white brush, sorry. So you can see this part right here on the eyes, and you can also see this part right here. I'm just going to fill them with hair to make it look even more realistic. So this is what I'm going to do right here. I'm just going to create another empty layer. So I'm just going to hide this layer which I created and create another empty layer. And what I'm going to do, I'll pick my normal brush tool and make sure my foreground is set to white or black, whichever color I want. And I'm just going to click on my foreground and just change the color to any color that match with this existing hair right here on the eye. So I'm just going to click on this one right here. I'm just going to take it down a little bit to make it a little bit darker, and just reduce my brush size and just draw a stroke like this on this eye part right here. So I feel my brush size is too small, so I'm just going to increase my brush size a little bit. Okay, I feel it's okay like this. I'm just going to draw like this to fill those parts that look like there's no hair there, like that. And I'm just going to do the same thing for this part right here to just fill it like that. So after that, what I'm going to do, I'll come to my filter, I'll convert to smart filter. After I convert to smart filter, and the reason why I converted this layer to smart layer, it's because if I make any adjustments, I can easily go back and change the adjustment which I made to make it suit the image. So after I convert it for smart filter, I'll just come back to my filter again. I'll come to my blur, I'll come to my Gaussian blur, and I just use a radius of about 2 to blur this one. So I feel it's too much. I'm going to use let's say 0.7. let's see. Okay, 0.7 works for this image, so I'm going to click on OK. So next thing I'm going to do right now, I'll just reduce the opacity a little bit like this. Okay, and I can decide to add more blur to the image. That's why I convert to smart. So let me just use one. Okay, I think one works for this image. So let's see our before and after. These are before and these are after. These are before and these are after. So that's how you can easily fade those hair. And if you feel the color is not looking the same, because I feel this side is more darker than this part right here. So I'm just going to make this part a little bit darker to make it match with this side. And to do that, I'll just come to my adjustment layer right here and click on solid color. And just clip it to this layer right here. Hold my alternate and clip it like that, and just come and click on it and just choose any color I want. It's going to affect only this part right here, so let me make it a little bit darker. Okay, so I feel it's okay like this. I'm just going to click on OK. So let's see our before and after. These are before and these are after. These are before and these are after. So you can see I fixed those right there, before and after. So let me just delete this layer below. So right now, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to see if there's any part of this image which I need to fix, and I don't think there's any part of the image which I need to fix right now. So in this part of this retouching, I'm just going to remove the blemishes. So we can see this image has some blemishes on the skin, and there are different ways you can remove blemishes. So I'm going to show you the easiest method to remove your blemishes, and it's going to give you great results. So that's using the frequency separation method to remove blemishes. So I'll just come to my Retouching Academy. And by the way, if you don't have this Retouching Academy, just send me a DM on Instagram as Tunde Victor 7. I'm going to show you how to get this Retouching Academy. I'm using frequency separation via Gaussian blur for this image. So once I click on frequency separation via Gaussian blur, it's going to load like this. So after that, it's going to show me my frequency separation Gaussian blur radius. That is the radius which I want to use. And if you use a smaller blur radius of about 6.4, it's going to make this image smooth. But if you use a higher blur radius, it's going to retain more texture on the image. So basically, if you want your image to be smooth, use a lower blur radius. But if you want to retain texture on your image, use a higher blur radius. That's what this blur radius is all about. That's as simple as I can explain it. So I'm just going to click on. So for this image, I'm going to use 11 and click on OK. And you know, in frequency separation, the high texture consists of the textures on the skin, while the low frequency consists of the colors. So if I just hide my low frequency, you can see we have only the texture right now. And if I hide my texture layer, you can see we have only the colors right here. So since we want to work on the texture, we're just going to come to my texture layer right here and pick our close stamp tool. And for my close stamp tool, I'm using a soft round brush, and my mode is on normal, my opacity is 100, my flow is 100, align is checked, and current layer is checked. Make sure you are not on current and below layer. Make sure you are working on only current layer. So that being said, I'm just going to sample from a close by area. So let me just zoom in a little bit. Sample from a close by area by pressing on alternate on my keyboard. So once I hold alternate on my keyboard, it's going to show you can see that alt icon right there. So it means I press alternate on my keyboard. So I'm just going to sample from a close by area and paint like that. Sample from a close by area and paint. If you sample from an area that is not related to that place, and let's say I sample from the eyes right here and I paint right here, you can see it's not making that place look good. So make sure you are sampling from a close by area. So I'm just going to undo that by clicking on Ctrl Z to undo, and just sample from a close by area and just paint like that. Sample and paint. And remember, you can use a square bracket key to increase and decrease your brush size according to the blemishes you want to remove. Let's say I want to remove this small blemishes right here. I cannot just use a big brush like this to remove that blemish. It's not going to make it look good. As you can see, this place is not looking good. I'm just going to undo that. So if you want to remove a smaller blemishes, make sure you're using a smaller brush. And if you want to remove a bigger blemishes, make sure you're using a bigger brush. I hope you understand that. I'm just going to do this for the whole of the skin, and just sample and just brush, sample and brush like that. So as you can see right now, we've removed the blemishes. So let's see our before and after. This is the before and this is the after. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to use my mixer brush tool to smoothen out the skin. And to do that, I'll just pick my mixer brush tool right here and just come to this corrective tone, and I'm just going to be working on only the colors. I'll just turn off my high texture layer right here. So click on this eye icon right here to turn it off. As you can see right now, I have just the colors right here. And for my mixer brush settings, I'm using a soft round brush. My hardness is set to 0, and my mode is on custom. My weight is on 30, my load is on 20, my mix is on 20, my flow is on 20. This place right here is on 10, while sample all layer is checked. So I'm just going to be brushing on the highlight separately and brushing on the shadow separately. And let me just quickly show you, since this is a beginner tutorial, this part right here are the highlights. Why this part right here that are not too bright and not too dark are the midtones. Let me show you that. So this part right here that are not too bright and not too dark are the midtones. So as you can see, they are the midtones. Why this part that are dark right here are the shadows area. So I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to be brushing the highlight separately, and I'm going to be brushing the midtones separately, and I'm going to be brushing the shadows separately, like that. So I'm just going to delete this layer, pick my mixer brush tool, and just hide my high texture layer, and just increase my brush size. Right now I want to paint on the highlights. As you can see, I increase my brush size, so I'm just going to paint on the highlights like this separately, and for the shadows I'm just going to paint it separately. I'm just going to brush on it separately, like that. While for the midtones, I'm just going to brush on it separately as well, like this. And so for the transition between the highlight and the shadow, let me quickly show you that. For the transition between the highlight and the shadows, so you can see this part right here are the transitions between the highlight and the shadows. As you can see, we also have some transitions right here, we also have some transitions right here. So for the transitions between the highlight and the shadow, so I'm just going to use a middle sized brush and just paint on them to make the transition look smooth. So let me just undo all that. So I'm just going to pick my mixer brush tool again, hide my high texture layer, and just use the medium brush to just brush between the transition of the highlights and the shadows, like that, just to smoothen out that transition to make the image look even more smoother, like that. So like I said earlier, this is a beginner tutorial, and if you feel a professional retoucher, this video is not for you. So I feel it's okay like this. So let's quickly see the before and after. So you can see before and after, and you can see this image is looking good, and we still have textures on the skin. That's because we use a higher focus separation blur radius for this image right here. So I'm just going to do the same thing for this side right here. Remember to use your square bracket key to increase and decrease your brush size according to the part or according to the place you want to brush, like that. So we're just trying to make the image look smoother and make the transition look seamless. That's what we are going to do right now, and we're not just going to make the image look all smooth. So you can see the before and after. And when I newly started retouching, I just feel if the image looks smooth, that's how I get a good image. Or if the image look like cartoon, that's when I know I have retouched. Until I realize that what makes a good image or what makes a good retoucher is to just make your image look good and don't leave any trace. So don't just make your image feel as if you retouch it. Don't make your retouching too obvious, or don't just make anybody that sees your image say, this image is retouched. Try and leave no trace of your retouching. That's how you become a good retoucher. Your goal is to make the image look better, not to make the image look flat and smooth. So just make the image look better. So let me quickly show you the before and after, and I'm just going to be doing this for the whole of the image. So let's see the before and after, the before and after. So I can see this side of the image looks even more better. So I'm going to do this for the whole of this image. So I'm just going to paint on this part right here. And okay, I feel I like this image like this. Now the next thing I'm just going to add portraiture to this image. And to add portraiture, I'm just going to merge my corrective tool and my low frequency layer together by clicking on Control, click on my low frequency, click on Control E to merge, and just come to my filter, come to my image unique, and come to my portraiture. And if you don't have portraiture, you don't really actually need this portraiture, but I like using it. You're not going to see the difference if I use it, but let me just show you. But I just like using it, so I'm just going to click on OK, and that effect is going to apply. So this is the before portraiture, this is the after portraiture. You can see there is no difference, but I just like using it just to fix a little bit part of the image which I missed. But you can see the before and the after, the before and the after, no difference at all. So that's why I said it does not really matter, but I just like using it. So let's see our before and after focus separation. These are before and these are after. So let's see how this image looks like when we brought it to Photoshop. So this is how this image looks like when we brought it to Photoshop. This is the before, this is the after, the before and the after. So that's all for the part 1 of this beginner retouching series. And for the part 2, I'm going to show you guys how to color grade and how to save your image, and also how to make the eyes white, and how to add sharpen to your image, how to add noise to your image. So basically in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you how to add finishing touch to your image after you retouch your image. So I hope you learned something for this video. If you do, make sure to give this video a like so more people can see this video and learn from this video as well. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay creative.